Welcome to session 2. Session 2 is going to continue our journey in preparing you for your MIEE application, but it's also going to expose you to a few more useful apps that are in Office 365 or linked to Office 365. So we will continue that through the remainder of this course until we get to the end and it builds up a portfolio for you to have a really strong application. We're focusing this afternoon on learning apps and classroom apps. Those also can be useful for staff. They're not exclusively for pupils or students. And we will focus on 3 for today, and all 3 of those I would recommend including in some way in your MIEE application. Even if it's just that you've experimented with them and you haven't got time to use them now, but just illustrating you understand the benefits and how the outcomes could move either your role forwards or support another member of staff in school in the function that they have. Just popping back over. So the MIEE program, the Microsoft Innovative Educator program itself, we've got a few people that haven't joined for session 1, so they're joining for session 2, so I'm quickly going to recap it. It will open between May and July 2022. You need to make sure that you've signed up to the Microsoft Education Centre. I've had a few people contact me between sessions who've signed up to the Education Centre and then moved across to Learn, and then said to me, there's still some things I really want to get to on the Education Centre. It's a bit of a one-way path at the moment. Microsoft hope to get that sorted spring into summer, but if you do move across to Learn, you can't undertake the content back in the Microsoft Education Centre. Everyone eventually will end up going across to Microsoft Learn. That's the new platform. But at the moment, it's personal preference whether you move your account over. Also, if you do move your account over, the codes that we're going to give you, like the one from this session, to redeem 1,000 points worth of training or equivalent for custom training, those cannot currently be redeemed on Microsoft Learn, although that will be rectified in the future. We're at this transition point. I'd hoped it would have been addressed sooner, but unfortunately there's nothing else that we can do at the moment to chivvy that along. I have asked Microsoft only this week to get that sorted. And then it's about you getting the evidence that we've already spoken about for becoming a Microsoft Innovative Educator expert. For those people that haven't been to the Microsoft Education Centre before, your sign-in box is in the top right-hand corner where those 2 fingers are pointing on the slide. You'll either need to sign in with the account you got for your Office 365 through school, or you can use a personal account as well. So after you've got in there, you can undertake some of your own courses. If there's anything that interests you in particular, or things that you'd like to study, that's absolutely fine. You can go ahead and do that. But at the same time, there will be certain courses we recommend at the end of each of these sessions, which are very powerful and certainly core to moving you forward and becoming an MIEE and driving change within your school. With that whole program alongside us, so we're supporting you in making your classroom more accessible and making the learning you're delivering within class or outside of class certainly as engaging as possible, but also trying to reduce that workload upon you. We don't want that to be something that's increased because of joining MIEE. The way that I look at it is everything that I did at the time was something I was going to do in school anyway, and then I just used that for my MIEE evidence. So it didn't add a great deal of workload to what I was already doing. There's the self-nomination document. Phase 1 is about you. We'll have a close look at that in a minute. Phase 2 are some scored questions where you have to just tick boxes and fill in answers, and that's just marked automatically by machine learning. You do need to get a 70% or above pass rate on that. Then phase 3 is the long answer questions, and then you'll need to have all of that in by July, and then that will get evaluated as to whether you're through. So to go back and have a look today at phase 1, phase 1, as you can see from the screenshot there, is very much about you. It's Microsoft trying to understand your background. What are your interests? What are you passionate about? What really excites you, and what might you be bringing to this role of being an MIEE? If you're successful in getting through and joining the community, one of the things they like to do is showcase you for particular talents or things that you're passionate about, and that's where this phase 1 section comes in. If you already use any particular digital tools, and they might not be Microsoft based, they might be from other providers, then mention them. Also, if you're already proactive within any other communities within school or outside of school, then make sure that it comes across in here. If you're already a CAS teacher or something like that, then include it in this section of the form. That's exactly where it should go. It's for them to think about you in the round and what you are going to bring to that role of being an MIEE. And don't worry, none of the phase one is marked. It's not assessed. Anything you put in there is just taken outside of the context of phase two and phase three questions, which are part of your marked application. Phase one is not. So you can put everything in there and rest assured you're not going to put a foot wrong one way or the other. It's just getting that picture of what you do and how you're doing it and in exactly what you're passionate and interested in. Any questions about the phase one bit? I think it's quite straightforward, but I know a few people in the past have questioned, is there something I'm going to include that I shouldn't? Just check the chat. Nothing in there at the moment. I will check back and have a look at that again later. Rough timelines for the process. We've got our support running all the way through up to the application, and then the application window will open on the 6th of May and it will stay open until the 15th of July. If you put an early application in, as we said on the previous slide, around the 8th of July, Microsoft will just check those through at a very high level, and if they see things which are drastically wrong, they'll throw you back your application and give you a chance over the period of 5 days to correct it, tidy it up and resubmit it, and it won't go against you. E2 is happening. It's been slightly delayed from February due to dear old COVID, but it's happening now. E2, I know a lot of people that were MIEEs previously and also that have showcase schools are involved there. If you search up E2, a lot of that content is public and available online for you to watch. There's some keynotes there from Microsoft speakers, but there's also some really great insight from schools and colleges that are already further down the road with the Microsoft application process. And a lot of those people started out with getting the MIEE qualification. Into today's session, we are going to look at these learning apps for classroom use, for hybrid use, if you've still got some students going back out with COVID again, but also for your own organisation. And all of these that we're going to show you today are not absolutely required to have every single one of them detailed in your application, but I would, when you talk about the MIE, particularly in phase 3, make sure that you mention these in those phase 3 sections. Just explain what you might use Planner for or Flipgrid, and we'll have that experience during this session just to understand a little bit more about them. Planner itself is quite useful from a teaching perspective, but I've also had some students or pupils in upper key stage 2 that have said they really like to use this themselves to keep themselves organized. Really does depend upon the individual. I've also had some hardcore paper-based teachers that have loved their mark book or their paper diary, who've actually quite taken to using Planner because it's not only an app to use on the web in a web browser, it's also an app you can install on either an Apple phone or an Android phone, and everything syncs across. So if you're trying to keep track of what you're doing during the day, think of Planner as like a flexible post-it note, and instead of having them stuck all around your diary or around the screen of your computer, you can have them all in one place and you can slide and tick them off. But you can also go back and see what you've already achieved, but you can reuse lists. We'll look at this in real life in a minute, but it's quite good also for collaborating with others, particularly if you're trying to organize tasks within a project. You can really make sure that they're listed out. You can add new ones in at any time, delete ones out that are irrelevant, and it keeps the whole thing tidy, but also fresh. You can access it from within Teams. So in the We space that we looked at last week, if you went to the top where the plus is, you can add in Planner and you can pin that as a tab in your team so that if you're doing something in the Planner app, it will automatically display in the team. And the philosophy we looked at as Teams being one single hub for everything, it means Planner can be in the same area. I'm just going to jump across and swap screens and show you how Planner looks in real life. Are there any questions about Planner? Anybody using Planner? Anyone had a really good experience with it and doing anything in particular they want to share with the group? No one yet? Okay, we're over to the other window. If there is, pop them into the chat. We'll come back and pick those up. So Planner, when you come to it, will be a lovely white page. I've got a few areas that are already in here. So I've created one of my Planner tabs for curriculum, another one about school development, because theoretically I'm working on a leadership team, and there's another one there for administration as well. And those tabs help me to organize my work. You could, if you wanted to, just have one. When you want to make a new plan, you click the new plan and you give it a title. So we might call it test. You can decide whether your plan is going to be public and available to everyone in your school, or whether it's going to be private, and then you can add people in. You've also down at the bottom there got the option to give it a description if you think it's going to be particularly confusing. Maybe you've got a lot of plans that have all got a very similar name. You need to differentiate in between. Giving it that description there sometimes helps as well. Once you've created it, you'll end up with a plan that looks a bit like this. So in here, here's my plan, and then these areas here are called buckets, and the buckets are ways of organizing things. So in my curriculum plan, I've got English, maths and science, and I'm a primary school teacher. I've invited some colleagues along and I've got them in here ready to do something. So what I can do is I can add tasks to each of my buckets. So in English, I might be reviewing the curriculum. In science, we might be looking at new inquiries. Practical science. We can set a start date. So we're going to say that that's going to open up next Monday. And we can assign that to people as well. So I might say, look, I want my partner, Ken, who's my joint teacher, to get involved up there. And then I can add that task in, and that task is there and ready to go. So if I click outside that box, I can click on the three labels on the three dots on the side, and you can add labels as well. So you can tag things up with colors. You can also add custom labels if you want to, but that helps to make things stand out. You can copy a task. So if it's taken you a long time to fill something out, you can just duplicate it. You can link to a task, or you can move a task between different buckets or different plans, or you can delete your task there. So you've got all of your different information all in one place. If I go over to, let's say, school development, in here I've got technology, operations and processes. But what I can do is I can look at this, instead of it being in board mode, which is what we're doing at the moment, which is looking at the buckets within my plan, we can go over to charts, and charts work a bit like a dashboard, and they just show you where you are with all your different buckets and tasks within those buckets inside of your current plan. So you can see how many are in progress, or how many are late and overdue and not completed, and then just who you need to tackle. So some of these are way overdue by nearly a year, and they definitely need some following up. Maybe it's COVID happened and we ended up all back out of school, and it's something we haven't addressed, so therefore we need to pick it up. You can also view it in a calendar schedule view, and if things were in for this month, that's probably going to look better if I went back to the curriculum one. There's my new inquiries, and if you had a lot of different tasks, they would all appear over here in the calendar, and that's where having tags or colors helps to make them stand out. You can have a month view, or you can break it down to a week view, and it will work for you that way. So if I go back over to demo and board, when I've come in here, I've just created a plan called demo, and then I've got my to do. So what I can do is I can rename my to do. So in here, that might be, I'm working on parents' evening. And also I need to add a bucket because I've got governor's meeting coming up. And then I'm going to add a task. So it might be finish reports. And I need to finish reports by the end of this week. And that's no one to assign it to because it's me. I'm going to add another task, and that's allocate slots for parents' evening. And I need to allocate slots by Tuesday of next week, and I'm going to add that task in. So you can see they start to build up under my different areas. That would then look over here in my scheduled calendar more meaningful because I can see exactly what's going on. And the Planner app is very, very simple and easy to use. Now, there is an app that it crosses over with, and that is Microsoft To Do. And Microsoft To Do will also have things in here that have been assigned to you. So To Do is my personal list of things to take care of, and where I've had tasks applied to me in Planner, I got all of that to sort out, and it's over here in my to-do list. So that's a bit like ticking things off your own individual list, whereas in Planner you're going to see the larger planning picture for your different buckets of organization and your different tasks. That strips out to just the tasks that are relevant to me. Now it might be that plan is just for me, or it could be that I'm part of a plan and buckets that are used by multiple people, and that's over here. So if I wanted to add members, I could add them into my plan just from there, and that's exactly how I've got multiple people added into my curriculum plan. That's Planner in a nutshell. It's no more complicated than that. It's really easy to get into, and that's why I've had a great deal of success with people sometimes going, do you know what, I could see how this could benefit me, and I could finally move away from some of my paper lists that I keep losing, or I write things out and I put it down somewhere and I don't know where it is, or I've got post-it notes that come unstuck and drop off when I'm walking between classrooms. It's just another way of trying to organize yourselves, on top of maybe using things like the sticky notes function in Windows 10 or 11 and having them on your desktop. You've got them all up here in the cloud. And again, the beauty is you can get them to them from anywhere at any time. And you can also invite others to collaborate. But with the sticky notes that you've got in Windows, it's not possible to do that. That is Planner. Something to discuss, something to include in your MIEE application. Has anybody got anything they want to ask about Planner, anything they want me to show them, or if they're curious that there's a certain function in there and you're just wondering if it does that and it will be relevant to what you're trying to achieve? I'm more than happy to pick that up and explore that now. While you're thinking about that, I'm just going to swap screens. I'm going to reshare the other screen.
Hi Martin, it's Ruth.
Hey Ruth.
You can't add documents to that then, it's just a way of organising all your jobs you've got to do. So if you had like a policy you wanted people to write comments on, you wouldn't put it there, or would you?
No, unfortunately they haven't, and that is an annoying feature that at the moment I think they're missing a trick, because it would be really good if you could get that in one place. The way I've got around that in the copy, let me go back. The copy the link, and I don't know how someone did it, but let's put that back on screen. I saw a video from a Microsoft trainer in the US, and they were using the copy the link to task tab to copy a link to a document in OneDrive or SharePoint. However, I've tried that myself and I haven't been able to get it to work, but I have seen people do it, and that's the only way I've been able to see anyone link to a document. But it's a bit smoke and mirrors in the fact that I haven't been successful in making that work in real life. So no, I think the simple answer is sadly you can't, and I would love them to sort that out, because I think that would add another dimension to it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, no problem. Okay, quickly jump back over. So that's Planner. The next app we're going to have a look at is one that used to be more integral to Teams, but a lot of people forget about the fact it's there, and I've got some schools using it really successfully. Stream is an app that's in Office 365. You can think of it a little bit like a private YouTube in Office 365. It's an area where you can organize videos and you can put them into things like channels, and it can create a resource that staff or pupils can use in school. And I'll show you how I've got mine organized. I've seen quite a few schools linking this into staff teams and having this as a CPD library. So if you are a school, and I know there's a whole discussion around that records lessons or has staged lessons where you may be delivering a certain aspect of learning, you can record that and you can add that in. It could be recorded part of a Teams meeting, and it's a section, I don't know, about using EpiPens, and you want to make sure that that's then somewhere central for everyone to go and watch the EpiPen training video, because not everyone was available to come along on the day that the nurse came in. So there's many reasons why you might use Stream, and if we swap over, I'll show you just what it looks like in the version that we've got set up. Stream itself used to have videos from Teams placed into it. But when they changed that about a year and a half ago, videos now appear in the meeting, as you'll have already found, and they don't automatically save to stream. And at that point, a lot of people abandoned stream and thought, well, is it worthwhile? Is it something I should pursue? But it just depends on whether you think you're going to find a use for it in your school. So if you want to go to stream, launch the app launch in the top left hand corner. Stream is there, or you might need to go to all apps if you haven't got it pinned like me. It's just in the list alphabetically. When you get there, you will land somewhere like this. You can upload videos from outside of Office 365. You don't have to just store videos from inside Office 365. So I don't know, if you found a video clip you want to use for your teaching, it might be that you store it here in Stream and you have your own private channel. So I'd have one called Mr. Long, and that's the video content I use in my class. And when I want to make a post in Microsoft Teams, at the bottom under where we type our post, there's a link to bring in a stream video. So it's a really powerful way of creating and curating your content to make sure it's all in one place. So you can see there's me doing some training. I've got two channels, one called Teaching and Learning and one called CPD. And if I go into the CPD channel, at the moment, there's nothing in there. But what I would have are my videos going in underneath and in all organizing in one place. If I come down and Teaching and Learning channel, it'll be the same over there. So you can create as much as you want in the way of different channels. And then you can either share those channels with people or you can have them private. So in here, you can see that I've got 0 people in this. But what I could do, if I go back to home, I could look for some content. So find the content, and no, I don't want to do that. That's moved since I went there last time. Let's just go back over here, go to my content, and let's go to videos. So any videos that are there, there's one doing CPD for me. If you went into that video, what you can do, if I pause that, is I can go down and I can choose access. So in here, I could download the video, I can delete the video, I can replace it, but also you can go to update video details. And if you go to update video details, this is where you can remain in control of your recordings. So you can share with other people. So if I wanted to share with Ken, there's Ken there. So if I added Ken in, I could make him an owner, but I'm also giving him access. So I might have recorded this entirely privately just to use with my class, and I don't want anybody else to use it. It could be as part of the CPD introduction like I've got there, and I want to add all the staff in it. You can also allow people to comment on your video. You can turn that off. And you can send share links from here, or as I've said, you can go to Teams and do that at the same time. Once you've got everything as you want it, you press apply, and then it will come back in. You can either go to upload here, or if I go over to the live event, you can go and create a live event. You can choose a language and then press save. And then all of a sudden, you'll be in a live event scenario where at the moment you're offline, but you can start broadcasting. So it's also really useful for considering it alongside team live events for broadcasting out events from the school. Now, that might be that you're having a virtual open evening because you're still not having parents in, but there could be another reason. Maybe you're going to show a production and you could use Stream to stream that production. At the moment, most of the restrictions stop people outside your organization receiving that stream. So Stream, without using Stream too many times, Stream is appropriate for streaming things inside of your school. But outside of your school at the moment, Microsoft haven't opened out for that functionality. And I know I've had a few people after these sessions come back to me and say, Martin, I just don't seem to be able to share it with parents. You can stream an event if you've recorded it outside and you change the permissions in the team, but what you can't do is stream it outside directly from here. So Stream itself is a platform that is used by some schools and completely ignored by others, but it is worth paying lip service to it. Even if it's just in your MIE application, you say, I understand that I can add video content and post it into my class team or my staff team, and my videos were stored in Stream. Even if it's as small as that, just put it in because it demonstrates your awareness of Stream and exactly what it can do and how it can be used. Any questions on Stream before we jump back over? No? Okay. I'll jump back into the presentation. The third area we're going to have a look at this afternoon is going to be Flipgrid. Now, Flipgrid itself is extremely powerful. It was a separate website and product, and Microsoft purchased it a number of years ago, but it is linked into Office 365. It's an app on the app launcher, but it's also a website. So if you open up a web browser and go to a search engine and search for Flipgrid, it will come up, and we'll go and look at my Flipgrid after we've gone through this. So when you create a Flipgrid, the purpose of a Flipgrid is it's a focal point for a topic to discuss for a certain community or an audience. And the philosophy behind it is that you leave video recordings, small video recordings, and what they do is they gather opinions, ideas around a subject, but it could also be used with pupils for formative and summative feedback and something they really love. And it again links into Teams, so you can have it within Teams, or you can get them used to viewing it independently. So the first thing you need to do is create a group. So when you create a group or a grid, it's for a particular community. Those communities could be a class that you're teaching. It could be that you lead a subject and you want to get some opinion about maths or arts or music or whatever you're leading. It could be about a learning community. So I've also seen schools use this with teachers. Maybe you've got some student teachers that are doing skits and you just want them to leave some feedback every so often, and you want it done in this way because it's slightly different and also allows you to listen to them in a different way entirely. Could be that there's the staff community and there's a focus. During lockdown, quite a few people use this for mental well-being or getting quick snapshots. If people also weren't able to get to a staff briefing in the morning, sometimes people created a staff briefing Flipgrid, and then those bits of video were left in the way of responses because not everyone could be in the same room at the same time. You could also do it for whole school initiatives. So I've had other instances where maybe there's a big plan for a change to a school. Let's say they're going to introduce a new canteen service or new lunch service. What they want to do is get the ideas from pupils about how they feel about different types of food or the way that it's going to work. And then you could get pupils to go on and leave comments back. So there's an infinite number of ways you could create groups and use them. Once you've got a group, inside that group, you start to create topics. And those topics normally within that group grid will prompt for something to happen. Now, you're either going to want to have discussion or debate going on around a particular idea or subject. You might pose a question and see what you get in the way of responses. You might set a challenge and you want people to come back with solutions to that challenge. It could be celebrating something. I've seen uses of this for a school getting a certain accreditation or achieving a certain status, and then people going in and leaving good luck wishes or best wishes or what they like most because the school's made the particular change. Or it could just be you want to ignite discussion around something in conversation. So it could be with parents because you can send this external to the school. It could be with governors as well. There's lots of different reasons that you might have topics within these grid groups. And then at the point you've got your structure created, it's really over to everyone else and getting them to make their contributions. You'll be really pleased to know, and I'll show you in a minute, you've got complete control over who accesses your grids and also your groups and topics, but also you've got safeguarding measures in there that will keep pupils safe. So if you are worried, I don't like the idea of sharing and I don't like the idea of people externally coming in, you can control that by topic or by grid, and it will be up to you as to how open or how closed you want things to be. And then if that's it, when you get to that point, it is sit back and watch these videos and contributions coming in. I've seen some amazing creative videos, sometimes from the pupils that often don't want to put their hand up or be seen to say too much in class. They feel more comfortable with, ironically, talking to a webcam or leaving a private video and then sharing it with the class that way than actually just speaking in front of the class. So I've had success in reaching some difficult pupils at times. Let's have a look at what that is in real life. So I'm going to move over and just show that. Swap browsers. So if you go to flipgrid.com, you'll be given two options. when you get there, and you can sign up. When you sign up, you've got a couple of choices, or you can log in if you've got an account. If you go to sign up, it will take you to a page where it's skipping it because I'm already logged in. It will take you to a page where you can log in with your Office 365 account, and then it locks it to your to your existing Office 365 ID, or you can go in with Google as well. So this not wedded strictly to Office 365. This is more open. So if you're a mixed school and maybe you use Office 365 for admin and central purposes, but you use Google Classroom, then you could still use Flipgrid. It's not excluding anyone. You'll see it shares out to Google Classroom as well as out to Teams. If you haven't used it before, you won't see all of these grids down here. You'll simply end up with a blank area, and you'll be asked to create your grid for the first time. Once you've got your grids decided, so you can see here I've got one for a subject I teach, science. I've got another one for doing work with an Office 365 training group. There's one I've used for MIE training, and then an eco club after school. So there's lots of different ways of doing it. You've got control over whether they're accessible to others. So most of my groups are active, but I have hidden and made inactive the environment group so nobody else can get to it. I still see it because I'm the owner of the grid in the group. Up on the top right hand corner where we've got the lovely smiley face, there are some other areas I just want to introduce you to, and then we'll go back how to create a grid and a group from scratch and then adding in a topic. You can discover different content, and this allows you to go into the Flipgrid library, and if you've got something that's either topical or you're trying to find it, you can search in the top bar there, or you can pick it up from there, and then you can tag those topics so that they go into your library, and it's content or active topics that other people are involved in creating, but you don't have to. So sometimes I haven't made my own topic. I've gone and used a topic that another group is moderating, but with a word of warning, you need to make sure that what's going in there is absolutely appropriate. So vet it thoroughly before you decide to use it with a class. You've also got mixtapes. So what you can do in mixtapes is you can create collections of videos from your own topics, and it does what it says on the tin. You can mix them together in a new way, and all your mixtapes will come here. Mixtapes are normally something people get to later. Achievements are things that unlock as you use more and more of the functionality in Flipgrid. You can also become a Flipgrid certified educator, which links out to Microsoft Learn and Microsoft Education Center. And then down the bottom, you can go to Grid Pals. Grid Pals is really bringing in functionality that came from Skype in the Classroom, which was an app that was discontinued by Microsoft about just over a year ago, where you can connect out with other countries and other communities. So you can search by education and a particular age range in education. You can search by subject or area, or you can just search for a grid pal if you know their name, and then you can find them by country or find them by subject, and you can link up with them. So this is really useful for making connections between your school and other schools outside of the area or in other side of the world in different countries, to end up connecting up and maybe having live opportunities or exchanging ideas on a particular group or topic. That used to be the philosophy of Skype in the Classroom, and that's why Grid Pals arrived. So if we go back to Flipgrid itself, if we're going to create a new group from scratch, we'll just go to group. You can join a group if you've got a join code, and you can do that via a alphanumeric code, or you can do it via QR code, and we'll show how to generate that soon. Or you can go to create a group. Normally, you'll be creating a group from the beginning. You want to give that group a name, so let's call it MIEE 2022. And then you can do all the lovely things like edit your themes, and there's lots of themes already in there around people or natures or textures. So let's have nature, and we'll pick a rainbow, and we'll continue with that. Then you get to choose who is going to come into that group, and it's up to you as to how that works. You can have it so anyone with the link could join the group, but if you are using it with pupils or students, I advise you not to choose that. That means that anyone from around the world that you don't know could get in. So I would say only people that you approve. And then if someone requests to come into the group, they will sit in a queue until you say, yes, they're okay and they can come in. When you're inviting people, you can do it one of two ways. You could link out to Google Classroom and you can connect up your Google and you can invite people directly in from there. Or you can do it by email address. So if you know the email address of all the pupils in your either in your team's class, in your class team, or you know them in your school, you can upload them as a CSV file en masse, or you can just paste them in one by one and they will go in there, and then they will gradually build up as a list of people and you approve them. You don't have to add somebody in order to create a grid or a group, and then you can go from there. You can also add a username instead. And if you want to create a username for the group, you can do that there, or you just press create group and then it will chug away. And there we go. We've got MIEE22. If you want to, you can download an A4 QR code. So to make pupils independent in learning, I've often placed those around the classroom. And if we've got camera enabled devices, they can just go and scan them and it will bring them directly into the website. None of that faff of logging into web browser, finding the address. It just takes them straight there. You've also got the ability to get code if you want to have a Flipgrid in a website, if your website supports that. If you want to share it directly to Teams, that's done there. You can also tweet, and there is another link to get it to Google Classroom. So it is very much about collaboration and getting to people. We said about inviting via the Flipgrid code. Well, that's there, so you could copy the link and you could also paste that into Teams. You could put the QR code into Teams. There's so many different ways to get people into the group. Now, you may want them to join the group, and I'm in my grid or my group MIE 2022, but we've said the group, think of that a bit like a LeverArch folder, and then the sections that we're going to put in there are the topics. Now, by default, every single grid or group that's created automatically says, hello, I am. You don't have to keep that, and most of the time you want to get rid of it. So you right click and you delete the topic. And you want to permanently delete that topic, and then that says that you'll accept that all the information is going to go from it. And then it'll be, do you want to use one of your ready-made topics from Discovery, or do you want to add your own? And we're going to add our own today. Before I do go and add my own, if you're doing a job share, or maybe you've got somebody else you work with who wants to co-author this, doesn't have to be moderated or created. You can add a co-author as another member of staff, and then you can both be in here at the same time. You'll both have administration rights to change and add more topics. Going into add topic, when you get here, we'll go down details first, and then we'll come back up to settings afterwards. So you need to give it a title. So this might be, we'll call it using Flipgrid. Give it a description, so it might be how to use Flipgrid. And then down here, you can branch out to media. So if I had a really good recording, I could go and pick it up. If I wanted to bring in an image of Flipgrid and I had it saved, I can drag it in on top and then it will come in. There is a certain size of image. If not, it will portrait it. I've also got emojis and Giphies and all sorts of things in there that I can bring in as well. So you can use that for expression. I can upload a video if I've got it outside, or I can link out to YouTube or Vimeo. So if there was a good YouTube video of Flipgrid, I can paste in the URL there. So let's see if we can get a Flipgrid video. And if we go to videos, there's one there. And we will get the share link, copy that, come back over to our Flipgrid where we're creating, paste that URL in there and search, and it's found it, and I press add, and then my video is embedded underneath my description. The last thing I need to do, if I just stop that, the last thing I need to do is decide the length of video contribution that I want. Word of warning, with variations in broadband at home, it can sometimes take quite a lot of bandwidth or a reasonably good broadband connection to leave a video over 1.5 minutes, which is why the default is set to 1.5 minutes. I often move that back to 1 minute because it makes the upload slower on the other end, but also it does force people to be concise in what they're saying, and you can do an awful lot in 1 minute. So you pick the length you want to. You can go longer, but I would say 1 or 1.5 is good. You can also add attachments in here, so you can link out to websites and you can give it a title, so you can have hyperlinks out to the websites as well as the videos. You can make this a default if this is a structure that you use a lot of the time, and you could post the topic as it is, but more than likely, particularly if you're using this with pupils, you want to go to settings, and this takes you into another raft of settings. So you can decide if something's view only or hidden. So if you want to build this in private, you could make it hidden and then only make it active at the point that you want the people to be involved. Or you could say, look, we've had your contributions, we want it to be view only after this time, so you can see what's in there, but you can't make any more contributions or make any more changes. I'm going to leave mine as active. You can decide when it's going to be open. It does use the American date system, so I might want it to be open until, let's say, Friday the 1st of April. My recording time can be changed there as well. Captions, I do need to change to UK English. It will go to default of American. Even though I've changed the language settings in Flipgrid, it seems to still default to American. You've got a choice here to allow people to add videos and text comments, or you can have it so video comments only or none. I tend to leave it that, and I will then talk to pupils about sensible use of comments under videos, not offending people, not upsetting people, making sure that language is appropriate, just like you would in many other ways. The responses, you've got control, so you can say that you will allow attachment links. You can also say that you're going to allow people to download and share videos or not. If I'm using the pupils, I tend to switch it off so people can't download videos. And you can say whether people can see the view count for the amount of people that have come there, or whether people are allowed to like videos. In the next section, you can decide around camera. So you can say it's essentials only, and we're going to have text, drawing, photos, stickers, and frames. You might say I'm going to allow expressions, so you can have filters that go over the top. You can have lenses, you can have GIFs, and you can have backdrops behind. I often leave those on. Sticky notes as well. About sticky notes, it will allow information, additional information about recordings. Again, I try to normally educate people on the use of those rather than switch them off. But if someone's really going to abuse it, I might for a while just disable those two and then enable them when I think that they're showing some responsibility and willingness to work with me again. And the final one, if you really want to be very secure, you can add a password. And then the guest password will be there. So even if someone gets the URL, they still couldn't get in without adding the password too. If you're going to do that, make sure that the password is somewhere that people know where to go and get it, but it's not publicly available so that they can bypass the purpose of having that. And then I will be posting my topic. My topic goes out. Again, I've got all the share options that I had previously when I was creating my group in Grid. I'm all set, so I just want to go in there. I'm now inside of my topics. If I go back to the very beginning, here's my groups. That's my group or grid, MIEE22. I'm going into there. Inside of my group or grid, a bit like the lever arch folder analogy, I've got my topic. If I go into my topic, I've then got this here, and this gives the video to tell people what to do. It gives them a very brief description. At the moment, I've got some space here where my videos would read there. I've got also, if I get that share link, I'll put that share link in there. If any of you want to leave a response, feel free to do so. I also in here have got the option to use Microsoft Learning Tools again, something we'll look at in a dedicated session on its own about accessibility to learning, but there can often be a lot of text in this environment, so you can toggle on Immersive Reader, and when you do, all of the text that's there would be read through a reader in Immersive Reader. So if you've got a particular learning need, or if you're an EAL pupil, you can have this adjusted. But as a teacher, reducing workloads, you can prepare it once. What it looks like in a group and a grid that's got some content in it. So if I went back to, let's go Office 365 Expeditions, and I had one about Space Safari. I've got a few people here, so we'll use Steph because I've got her permission to share her video. Steph left a video on the brief that we gave about space safari, about planets in the solar system and so forth. We also had a link there about going out and looking up information about planets if they were stuck. But at the same time, once I've got my video, you can see that they've used, Steph has used things like the stickers. There's also put a title in, no sticky notes there, but it's pretty much as you want it to be. If I go back to my groups, and I was going in here and I'm going to my existing group and I'm going to leave a video, what I could do is make a contribution myself, and I could then add that contribution in there. So if I want to make a contribution, I can go up to there, but also I've got options here to hide my topic. I can duplicate my topic. I can move the topic to another group. I can also export the data and get it out. I can submit it out to Discovery if I want it to be discoverable and I want other people to use it and find it. But if I want to record a response, I hit record a response. It will load up the recordings window and you'll be able to see me here. And all you do then is you use the effects down the bottom. So I might say, look, I want a background or I want a GIF. So let's have a board there and we'll have that on the side. So I can put my information down the side on the board so it's instantly split screen it. I might have a backdrop behind me as well. So I think I'll have a backdrop that looks like that. There we go. So there's my board over there as well. I can still get to on the same time. So I could have both visible. And then I might just say, look, well, move me to the side, put me in the corner, put me in the bottom corner so I don't obscure what I'm talking about. You've also got options in here about using mic only, mirroring your video. You can mute, you can screen record, and that's where you could upload your own clip. So the recording probably give the pupils a demo, but they'll soon work out because it looks very much like social media and there's lots of scope to bring your videos in. And then it's up to you to decide what you want to use it for. Are you going to use it exclusively in the classroom? Are you going to use it more widely around the school with staff? Or are you going to use it with governors? You can use it with parents. So many reasons you could use it. At first, I would only try it on a classroom level, try it with a small group, become comfortable with it. If you're the person leading this and bringing this in as an initiative, try it with a couple of colleagues and send the share link out. But what you will end up with is it gradually building, and as you get those responses, you'll get notified they're there, and at any point you can go and you can make that hidden topic, or you can go in and author and change what's happening. So that in essence is Flipgrid. Are there any questions about that? Anything that you want to have a go at? Anything you want me to show you again or go across and recap? Have a look in the chat. Nothing in the chat. Anybody need to unmute and ask anything at all? No? Okay. We'll jump back over and go and continue on. So Flipgrid itself has got some courses on the MEC. There are also new courses on Learn, but aside from the MEC, there's some really good content on the Flipgrid website. So if you want to introduce this to school, Flipgrid have produced decks to go and pitch it to leadership teams. They've also pitched decks to use with pupils and students. There's resources, there's introduction sheets, there's guides on how to use it, there's screenshots of the videos with little labels about how everything works. There's a whole raft of resources there, so do go and pick those up and use those at the same time. The Flipgrid courses that are really useful, and again, as always, I'll put the slide deck into our channel in our team a little bit later, but Engage and Amplify with Flipgrid is a good place to start. And then once you get really used to it, use Beyond the Basics with Flipgrid. As I've said, the Educator's Guide is available on Flipgrid itself, but there are also subject integration docs as well. And those are those guides about how to link it to your subject, how to bring it into your school. There's so much support for bringing in and using Flipgrid. It's unbelievable. And the Flipgrid team, they're a dedicated team and they're really passionate and enthusiastic. If you contact them, you'll soon get a response back and they'll be just oozing with enthusiasm to help you. So for today, that brings today's session to a conclusion, and we will then soon be into the 23rd of March. And on the 23rd of March, we're going to have Lanny Watkins joining us, and he will conduct a Q&A session really about his experiences of being an MIEE, what's happened since becoming an MIEE. He's a teacher over in Wales, but he regularly does a lot with the English curriculum as well. And he's also very proactive within the Microsoft Educator community. He'll be on the Microsoft stand at BET, and he'll be someone you possibly bump into if you go up there. I think he's there on Thursday, maybe Wednesday. And then as we go through, the next session with us on the 31st of March will be on learning tools and accessibility, and Immersive Reader will go into in a lot more detail there, but we'll look at other learning tools at the same time. And then we've got those other sessions that will lead us through up until July, when we'll have an application workshop and we'll look at a real application form. We'll go through the answers that you should put in more detail to help you really structure that application and make sure it's as good as possible. So today we're also giving you a Flipgrid custom training code. It will come up as custom training if you're going to redeem it in the MEC. If you've already moved over to Learn, I'm really sorry. The code won't work yet, but this code will remain active for anyone watching this as a recording, and you can share it as many times as you like with your colleague. As with always, if you are in the MEC, make sure you're signed in. Once you are in the top right-hand corner, it will change to your initials. Click your initials, you'll get the little box that comes out, and then click the box that says redeem achievement code. A window will pop up in front of the website, and that's where you type in the code that's there on screen. I'll also post that code into the chat, make sure you can pick it up from there, and then you just paste it in and you'll be given 1,000 points. If you've got anyone that's not able to come today and they've been struggling with getting their MIE status, all you need is 1,000 points. So once you've got that 1,000 points, you'll be sorted, and that'll be another tick on your MIEE application journey, and it'll be one less thing for you to do. Again, we said we're all about reducing workloads, and to save you having to do any self-study courses, if time doesn't allow for that at the moment, my code's come up quite dark in the chat. If time doesn't allow for that at the moment, just use these sessions to get your MIE and also to get some exposure to MEC content, because what we're doing is weaving in the important MEC content along with the MIEE guidance at the same time. At this point, it's really over to you, and if there's anything you want to know. One thing to mention, next Friday, Turn It On will be on the Microsoft stand. We'll be up there, and you'll be able to come up and meet me, and also you'll be able to meet Tom Welsh, the MD. We'll be running different sessions throughout the day, but you can also come and have a talk to us about the MIE program and anything else you want to know from Microsoft. We'll be representing Microsoft on that day, so please do come and see us. We're there on the Friday. We're only there on the Friday, but you're more than welcome to come and have a chat. If you want to book a time with me in advance, just let me know, and I'll make sure that I've got some time set aside. So over to you. Is there anything you want to know? Any questions you have? Anything from any of the previous sessions you want to pick up on? Anything that's going to happen in the future you just want to answer to? I'm more than happy to try and help you. I'm also going to stop the recording there. So if you are watching the recording, I will see you on the next session on the 31st of March if you're not joining us for Lani.